Hey, so good morning and welcome to Imago Dei Americana. What is that? I had made two videos already building these live edge slabs, but I went back and reviewed those, and I think I have to do an introductory video to describe what this whole thing is for me. So there's two things that are very important to me. One is my ministry with Christ. The other one is building stuff and crafting stuff. So I decided to combine those two. So Imago Dei being the first part of that phrase, which is really Latin for the image of God. The Latin was originally translated from Hebrew, the word tselem, I think the proper pronunciation is, but I might be wrong about that, which means in a likeness, in a shadow. So what does that mean? Does that mean we are, do we look like God? I certainly hope not. That would be a big disappointment, to get the glory and find out that God looks like me or you. That would be quite a disappointment. So what is the Imago Dei, the image of God, actually mean? It could be just that God has given us an inherent fragment of himself, just a little tiny glimpse of himself that spoke this universe into existence. Imagine that power, that glory, to just speak this universe into existence, and then we get a little tiny fragment of that. And to me, that is the essence of Imago Dei, is the reason for man to build anything, or the ability that man has to build anything, is just a testimony to the Imago Dei. That's from a paper clip up until a skyscraper that man could actually build, is just a testimony to God's glory. It's just there for me. I just see that clearly. So the other half is Imago Dei Americana. Over the years, I've been building projects and working on projects. For the last 30 years, my previous life, I lived in technically what you would call kind of upstate New York. I lived in some barns that I purchased from Adele Ernest, who was the founder of the Folk Art Museum in America. So there was one folk art museum. It was located in the barn that I used to own in Stony Point, New York. I never really understood why I was placed there. I fell in love with the place and kind of acquired it. I feel that way about my entire life, that I'm just kind of put in places for a reason. I have no control over what God does with me, or where he places me. I just kind of go along with it. Of course, I always tried to fight that and bend that, but eventually you have to succumb to that. So I acquired these barns on a 5-acre property from Adele Ernest, where she had the first folk art museum. And what is folk art? Folk art is art made by folks like you and me. What they used to do, Adele Ernest and Cordelia Hamilton, that lived on my property, I rented to her as part of my agreement when I took over the property, that she was going to stay in that barn until she died. She did wind up dying, I think at 91 or 92 years old. She died. There was an apartment above my workshop, and she died up in the barn up there. So what they used to do, they were partners kind of like in business, and they used to travel through Appalachia and acquiring folk art to bring This is back in the 40s and the 50s, 60s, 70s. They were very influential in bringing folk art into the American eye. She had written a couple books, The Art of the Decoy and Folk Art in America. You could look those up by Adele Ernest. I have one of the books over here, The Art of the Decoy. The other book, Folk Art in America, is in my house somewhere. I can't find it. But I'll find out later and bring that out. So what they used to do is they used to travel through Appalachia. So where is Appalachia? So Appalachia is it's kind of a term used for the mountain range that goes from like as far south as like Alabama, northern Mississippi, all the way up through Kentucky, Ohio, into Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all the way up into southwestern New York, northwestern New Jersey. So when you kind of wind up in western New York counties, they kind of border the counties where I grew up, which would really be the Highlands, the Hudson Highland, which is really kind of part of the Ramapo mountain chain, which the Appalachians dump in kind of to the Ramapos and the Hudson Highlands. Everybody's kind of got names for their mountain ranges, and then of course it goes up into the Catskills, into the Adirondacks, and then you're up into Canada. So really from Canada all the way south, that whole mountain range, they scoured that for folk art. Simple projects, practical projects that people made out of necessity. So if you were to look at like another style that I like is like shaker. Like if you were to look at the elegance of a shaker table, I mean just the pure simpleness of it and of functionality and the lines. And I don't have a picture of that, but you could look up a shaker table. And they were a little bit more refined. And did they have more skills? I don't think they had more skills. They might have had more resources. I think it all boiled down to time and resources. So what I think that where my stuff kind of falls is kind of like in folk art. It's just stuff that I like making out of like natural products. So some of the products that I'm going to be making, that I'm going to be showing, how I make them, and that might not necessarily be the right way to make things. It's just, some basic skills that I've acquired over the years, right or wrong, of making basic projects. So I'm going to be making some different things that might fall into like a folk art kind of theme, because that's what I'm familiar with. And it was all over my barn. My house was a barn that I had renovated. I might get into some of that later on. And then I had the big barns from 1850, big, huge kind of Dutch style bank barns. That's where the Folk Art Museum was on my property. So I was kind of around it, and so now I think I'm just trying to understand, why I was put there, and maybe pass on a couple little, hints and skills that I might have learned. And the first project I'm going to be working on is some live edge slabs. So I kind of reviewed those two videos. After 63 years, I think I've discovered that I kind of have like a little bit of a speech impediment. I actually cut off my tongue when I was like 5 years old, jumping on some furniture, and my mother had to like wrap a towel around it and drive me to the hospital where they sewed my tongue back on. And if I showed you the underneath of that, which I'm not going to do, it's kind of a little messy under there. But and God rest his soul, my older brother Peter used to make fun of me, something terrible. He used to exaggerate the lisp that I had, and I never really paid attention to it. But listening to the videos, I think I seen it after 63 years. I do got a little bit of a list. So you got to kind of put up with that in these short, hopefully short films that I'm going to be making. And you're going to have to put up with a little bit of, I'm going to be throwing in a little bit of preaching. Not the preaching that's kind of drive you out of the room. What's funny is I'm also a recovered alcoholic, and they used to say back in the halls of AA, there were some guys that AA is a spiritual program, and a lot of guys used to talk about God. And a lot of people used to leave because nobody wants to hear about God when you're. A lot of people don't want to hear about God. It kind of scared them out of the room. And my sponsor got up one time and he said, God rest his soul, my sponsor Pete. He got up and said, well, if God is going to scare him out of the room, the drink will scare him right back in. And I just heard that, and I thought, wow, man, that is how true is that? So if a little bit of my preaching is going to scare you away, maybe the world will scare you back in here. So because there's certainly enough craziness going on out there. So that's it. I'm going to combine those two things. It's not going to be nothing crazy. It's just going to be some evident things that I see. I mean, let's take a look at this. Here's a piece of wood that I'm working on. All right. All right. That's one of the pieces of lumber. I mean, look at this. This is one slice of one tree. All right. That's somewhere in the tree. If you were to slice that tree another foot higher, that imprint would be totally different. It's unique, as each of us are unique. If you were to tell me that this just happened by chance, that's just insanity to me. I just can't wrap my head around how something like this could be created at a chance. They say that atheists don't have faith. Well, let me tell you, you have to have a lot more faith to believe that this all happened by chance than the faith that I have that it didn't happen by chance. That's my take on it. So I'm going to start these little short clips here. Hopefully, start a Facebook thing for Imago Dei Americana. I want to get eventually to some YouTube videos, and I'm going to see how it goes. If it fails, it fails. I gave it a shot. We're going to be doing some different projects. I'm going to be showing you some different things, and hopefully we'll have a good time. All right? So God bless and take care.